Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations to the elect. News and prophecy, where we link the things happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures, so that the elect, the remnant, the faithful of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua can know that these words are faithful and true. All right. As it is written here in the book of Revelation 22:6. And he said unto me, write, these sayings are faithful and true. All right. And the Lord God of the holy prophets sent his angel to show unto his servants the things which must shortly come to pass. See, and in these times he has sent his servants, the prophets, okay, messengers of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And ultimately, as he says here, behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. You see, and we're in a time of, ultimately not withholding, all right, but declaring these things, publishing. The prophets are here through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And all things are going as planned. As you can see, I have here, all right, it looks as if Trump, all right, may very well leave NATO, which can lead to a lot of things, all right, that will basically, speak to biblical prophecy. As you can see, I have here, Trump cast doubt on NATO commitments as world leaders reconsider sharing intel with U.S. So pretty much, as we know, prophetically, at the very end, the revival of Rome, led by America, NATO, and the EU, would be divided. We know, pursuant to biblical prophecy, all right, the EU nations and what's left of NATO will most likely side with Russia, okay, and the alliance that it's formed to shoot missiles, all right, not only on the state of Israel, but also Babylon the Great. And we are leading, all right, we are in prophecies that are leading to those very sad things happening, as it is written in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, okay? So, as you can see here, Trump cast doubt on NATO commitments. Now, some articles, some videos are out there saying that he withdrew. Some are saying that he's close. What we're going to just do is just get into a few things and show you what this can lead to. First of all, what is NATO? And ultimately, why was it formed? Okay, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was formed in 1949 to establish a collective security against the perceived threat of the Soviet expansion after World War II. Uniting Western European nations with the United States and Canada. Okay. And eventually you would have the EU. This completed the revival of Rome. Okay. Now all you have is, pretty much the US and Canada added. Turkey's up in there. And this was as the scriptures say, a confederacy, that ultimately would last up until end time prophecy. So NATO was ultimately created for the purpose of combating, all right, the USSR, Soviet Union, which is Russia, and from that point on, NATO, headed by Babylon the Great America, has been, the powerhouse in the earth, leading unto these times where that's all shifting and changing. And you have the Soviet Union pretty much rebranding itself, Russia, but it's got major players, all right, uniting with them as well, all right. And there's an evil eye towards those small hats, and there's an evil eye towards the West. Now, America is NATO's greatest military might, with Turkey being number 2. Okay. What are some things that can happen if America leaves NATO? Okay. Now, why does Trump, or as we're going to play this video, why does Trump want to leave NATO. Well, basically, he's saying they're not putting enough in the pot, as most of the money for defense, is coming out of the pockets of America, because there's Article 5 of the NATO agreement is that if any of us go to war, or if war started with any of us, we all have to come together and pretty much help. It's a military power, and of course you have the EU nations as well. And pretty much this has made America a powerhouse. The threat of NATO, all right, coming against your ass, for years put fear in the eyes of many. Well, we're living in a time where that fear is dropping. And now you see the Heavenly Father using Donald Trump to make a very strategic move. Now he's saying he wants to leave NATO because cost and burden sharing. Basically, he's criticizing NATO members for not spending enough on defense, claiming that the U.S. was shouldering a disproportionate share in the alliance's expenses. He also argued that many European countries were not meeting their defense spending commitments. And as we're going to show you, as a matter of fact, let's get this in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, in the 19th verse. It says, "Then I will know the truth of the fourth beast, which we know as the Western Roman Empire, which will be revived in the latter days, which was diverse from all others via the Senate and how they brought about rulers, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, his military might, and nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue of his feet, and the 10 horns which are in his head," okay, representing the vassals of the Roman Empire today. This is fulfilled in the EU, subordinate or vassals to the Roman Empire, which made it a beast system. It says, "And of the other which came up," okay, speaking to America, the revival of the fourth beast, "and before whom 3 fell, the Spanish, the French, and the British, the revolutionary wars that led to the 13 colonies that would eventually lead to the 50 United States. Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things." All right, they boast themselves in their technology, but they're mere men, and they're speaking great things via their new world order. All right, "whose look was more stout than his fellows." See, America's look is more stout than his fellows. So as you can see, the Lord is using Donald Trump. Let's look up the word stout. He's using Donald Trump to create many tensions in this alliance. Okay, and as we're going to show you, this is all prophetic. Okay, so his look was more stout. Okay, when you look at America of this, confederacy, America has the greatest military. Okay, America is the richest. Okay. And America is the powerhouse. America fulfills the revival of Rome. All right, but these territories were added. Rabbah, great, captain, chief. So America is at the forefront of, this beast system. All right, which we know technically America is owned out of the British, out of the bankers, man. Okay, Rabbah, much, great, abounding, numerous than, strong, greater than, exceeding, captain, chief. So again, let's read this in NLT. Daniel 7:20. "And I asked about the 10 horns on the fourth beast's head, and the little horn that came up after and destroyed 3 of the other horns. This horn had seemed greater than the others, and it had human eyes," representing his science, because he's a mere man, but he's boasting in being God, boasting in eternal life, "and a mouth that was boasting arrogantly." See, a mouth that was boasting arrogantly. And when you listen to how Trump is criticizing NATO, how he criticizes the EU, how he says basically we don't need you, putting on the front of this nationalist idea to make America great again. Okay, he's boasting in some very great things. So Trump, is boasting an America first policy. Okay, so being a part of NATO is draining, America's economy in a sense, as America is, putting the majority of the aid in. Trump is also questioning NATO's relevance. He's basically like pretty much, the purpose of NATO was to combat the USSR. Okay, he's pretty much of the mindset that NATO has outlived its purpose. Okay, because the Lord has a spirit in the minds of the kings to prepare war. Because if Trump leaves NATO, that's going to leave Europe in shambles, and we're going to show you how. We're going to get the video in a minute. Also, Trump desires bilateral deals. Okay. And, getting out of NATO would open them up to this and that. Well, really, it's all leading to war. War is pretty much coming down the pipe. Okay. And if Trump leaves NATO, all right, that would leave NATO weakened. The next powerful, military, the next second most powerful military in NATO is Turkey, which their loyalty has been divided from the get-go. And we know they're going to prophetically side with Russia. You see? So it's not looking good. All right. This is going to leave Israel and America isolated in the grand scheme of things. And America is not going to have any allies. All of its allies are going to say, you know what? Okay, because this is going to make, all right, even what he's doing with the those Ukrainians, withdrawing aid from them, pretty much that's going to leave, Europe in a bad predicament. But we'll get to these things, all right? Let's get to this video, and we'll get to some more of these points about what can happen. But again, Trump casts doubt on NATO commitments as world leaders reconsider sharing intel with U.S.
Welcome back. The European leaders are holding an emergency summit today as they scramble to increase their military budgets and bolster aid to Ukraine amid concerns about waning support from the U.S. President Zelensky received a warm welcome by EU leaders at that summit, in stark contrast to the tense meeting in the Oval Office last week. While European leaders huddle, President Trump warned that the U.S. might not defend NATO countries who do not meet the defense spending threshold.
If you're not going to pay, we're not going to defend. I said that 7 years ago. And because of that, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you.
Which goes against Article 5. So if you're not paying enough, pretty much, let's say Russia starts some shit with, well, we're not going to help. And a lot of the European nations are looking at Trump as, well, damn, you're selling out the alliance. Okay, and this has everything to do with biblical prophecy. Let's get the book of Obadiah real quick. Okay, Obadiah. And as you can see, his look is more stout than his fellows. You see? The Lord is using America and those small hats, all right, to push major divisions amongst these Edomites, man, which is going to lead to World War III. This is the book of Obadiah, verse 7. I'll start at 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and have prevailed against thee because of his pride, the pride of Babylon. Okay, and when you deal with, those small hats and those Ukrainians, which are also small hats, they know they can do whatever the hell they want because Babylon is going to always be there. Well, the Lord is now putting the spirit on Trump. Okay, and we're going to see what this leads to. It says, all the men of thy confederacy. Let's look up the word confederacy. Okay. The word confederacy is an alliance, and that's exactly what this European Union, NATO, EU, and they got so many other, factors to this. The UN, all, everywhere you look, these devils are meeting and, planning iniquity and evil. Well, the Lord is getting ready to have them go to war. Now, the word is Bariath for confederacy. All right. Give me 1 second here. Everything been running good. As soon as you start the video, here we go. Give me 1 second. Barayath. Covenant, alliance, pledge, treaty. Okay? Alliance, league, man, constitution, ordinance, agreement, pledge. Okay? And also, after, the disbanding of the USSR, there were agreements between Russia and NATO that NATO wouldn't push any further east towards Russia. And they have done exactly that ever since the so-called agreement. All right. They've set up shop, and Ukraine is no different. OK, that's basically, that's like, OK, let's say Russia wanted to come and add Mexico to its alliance. Well, how would America feel about that? They would be like, hell no. How are you going to have, Russian military might in Mexico? That's going to eventually work against us, and it'll be easy to strike us. Well, if NATO adds Ukraine, all right, to its league, how do you think that's going to look to Russia? So that's why there's been a lot of friction. One of the many reasons. All right. But again, this alliance is getting ready to be breaking up. OK. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and have prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. All right. These nations who have, entered into that, petrodollar, taking on your debt. There is none understanding in him. So let's go back here. So the Lord has a spirit on Trump, all right, to where they don't understand what they're doing. You see, because what they're doing is further isolating themselves. And as is written in Revelation, the 17th chapter, as we'll show you, eventually these European nations are going to align themselves with Russia and help to shoot missiles on Babylon the Great. It's going to start with Israel, though. OK, but let's go here.
Are you going to make that policy, U.S. policy, that the U.S. wouldn't defend NATO countries that don't pay?
Well, I think it's common sense, right? If they don't pay, I'm not going to defend them. No, I'm not going to defend them. I got into a lot of heat when I said that. You said, oh, he's violating NATO. And, the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem. France, we got a problem. A couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure.
So why standing so long?
I view NATO as potentially good, but you gotta get some good thinking in NATO. It's very unfair what's been happening.
Meanwhile, NBC News is exclusively reporting that as the Trump administration appears to turn towards Russia, some U.S. allies are now thinking about scaling back the intelligence they share with the U.S. Joining me now is NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney QB, who reported on both of those stories. Courtney, congratulations on two great scoops. Let's start with NATO and this potential policy shift by the Trump administration. What does it mean for Article 5, which basically says an attack against one is an attack against all?
So basically, that's going to leave Europe, vulnerable. So they're going to have to make a decision. OK. It says here, it says European countries, if America leaves NATO, OK, it says NATO's primary purpose has been to ensue the collective defense of its members under Article 5, which guarantees mutual defense if one of the members is attacked. Without U.S. backing, European nations would be left more vulnerable to external threats, particularly from Russia. So eventually it can be a get down and lay down scenario where these nations just align themselves with Russia. Well, that's what it says prophetically. European countries would have to either dramatically increase their own military spending and capabilities, all right, or seek alternative security arrangements, okay, which will be an alternative security arrangement. All right, the alliance that's going on with Russia, Iran, China, okay, because they would get devoured. I mean, Europe has, some military power, but again, as we're going to show you in Daniel the second chapter, they're partly strong and partly weak. Okay, so if America leaves NATO, okay, that's going to cause European countries to have to dramatically increase their own military spending capabilities and seek alternative arrangements, which could be challenging due to varying defense capabilities among European nations. Okay, European countries may seek new security alliances outside of NATO, possibly strengthening the European Union's defense capabilities or working more closely with other powers like United Kingdom, which despite Brexit maintains strong military capabilities. So they're going to, cry after, Britain. But, in the Brexit is a sign that the beast is divided. Okay? You can look up the Brexit. It says Russia could feel emboldened by a weakened NATO and might increase its assertiveness in the regions like Eastern Europe, the Baltic, and even in the Arctic, where NATO's presence is critical, all right, in deterring aggression. Okay? So it's going to also have an impact on global security and U.S. influence, all right? Increased risk of regional conflicts. NATO's collective defense mechanism has determined potential aggressors without the U.S. backing. Smaller NATO countries may feel less secure, which could lead to an arms race or increased likelihood of regional conflicts. NATO's absence could also encourage non-NATO countries to seek stronger alliances with countries like Russia or China, further fracturing global stability. Internal strain within Europe. European countries will face internal debates over how to fill the void left by U.S. Many would likely be reluctant to increase military spending to the levels needed for credible defense force, given their domestic priorities, economic constraints. The EU, which has some defense capabilities, could try to take on more responsibility, but without NATO's infrastructure, this could be a slow and complicated process. Let's get the book of Daniel, the second chapter, real quick. Okay. This is Daniel chapter 2 and 40. And the fourth kingdom, which is Rome, shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron break in pieces and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. This is what Rome did. They brutalized. Okay. They were blessed with the sword. Okay. Their military might. Okay. They studied the Assyrians, who were brutal. Okay. It says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part potter's clay and part iron, the feet and the toes represents the revival of Rome. Okay. Headed by Babylon the Great, we know. All right. But also NATO and the EU, those European countries. So whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, okay, the very end of the vision, part of potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. Okay, so they're partly strong and they're partly weak because they're divided economically, spiritually, all right, on who they want to, help. All right, they're divided. And then now there's the threat of Babylon, all right, leaving NATO, which is going to lead to what? Okay, as it says here, it's the strength of the iron, but it also is mixed with miry clay. Okay, so they have the power of the sword, but it's weakened by the fact that they're divided. And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And what does the scripture say about a kingdom divided? Okay? Partly strong and partly broken. So they're partly strong because, yes, they are Edomites. They're still in power. Okay? They have the sword. Okay? Even in certain EU countries, they're not the greatest, but they have, the power of the sword. Okay? But they don't agree. So they're partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, okay, which decay, okay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, making alliances, as Esau always does, sending economic hitmen to pretty much overthrow governments to get his will done. All right. And it's worked up to this point. But they shall not cleave to one another. So he's mingled himself with the seed of men. These Edomites have pretty much taken over. Okay. Again, they've uprooted all power structures. Okay. I mean, they false flag wars. Okay. Getting land rights through marriages, killing off the women. This man is the devil, right? But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So they're not going to agree. So let's go back here and listen to what she says here. Okay. And we also got to get the aspect of Ukraine. If Trump is talking about withholding aid from Ukraine, this is going to leave Europe in a very, very, all right, the EU, especially in a very, very crazy situation, because they're going to have to step up their defense. And are they capable of doing that? Let's go.
Well, what we were reporting is basically what President Trump just confirmed in the Oval Office, and that is that the Trump administration has been considering sort of calibrating their support for NATO and NATO allies based off of the members who pay the most. So if you have a member who pays above the threshold, the percent of their GDP on defense that the Trump administration thinks is appropriate, then they would consider defending them. In the case of an Article 5 violation, or of course the part of the Washington Treaty that says if one NATO member is attacked, all consider themselves to have been attacked. But it's not just Article 5 that's under consideration here, Kristen. This potential decrease in support to NATO by the United States could also see the Trump administration basically calibrating which exercises, military exercises, they would participate in based off whether the countries are meeting this threshold, this monetary threshold. And it could also determine where U.S. military troops will be stationed and where they could be withdrawn from. So right now, NATO says that all members are supposed to pay 2% of their GDP towards defense. The Trump administration has been calling now for several weeks for that to be increased to 5%. Kristen, I have to say the U.S. doesn't pay 5%. We're right around 3.9% as of 2024.
Yeah, I think it's so important to point that out, that the United States doesn't pay 5%. Courtney, how extraordinary that he, and I think we have to put a fine point on this, confirmed your reporting from earlier in the day, and just notable to hear him talk about that. You also have exclusive reporting about allies possibly scaling back intelligence sharing with the United States. What are the biggest concerns that you're hearing on the world stage?
Yeah, and Kristen, again, these are some of the historically closest United States allies who have established this group called the Five Eyes. It's 5 nations.
See that? These were their closest allies. See, but at the very end, that confederacy would be dismantled. And this is the beginning of it, and it's going to end in war. Okay? The Lord is putting it in their minds. Somebody brought out how, you have certain Edomite, let people on the left hand, talking about it's gonna be 3 worlds war. Well, the Lord put it in their mind to do all of this. There is gonna be a 3rd world war, Elder Barack. Okay, you guys are tripping. You think all of these missiles being gathered, all these alliances being formed, all of these, disagreements is gonna end in them hugging? No, they're gonna use those missiles, man.
That share this very highly classified technical intelligence information with one another at higher levels than they share intelligence with other nations. Now, some of these allies are now concerned that the United States seems to be trying to normalize relations with Russia. President Trump has spoken pretty openly about that effort. Because of that, they are concerned now about sharing some of that most sensitive information with the United States.
And that's just theater. They're not going to side with Russia. We know Russia prophetically is going to be used to end this all. Okay?
And really at issue here, Kristen, is the foreign assets. They are concerned that some of their foreign assets, individuals, could potentially be compromised, their identities, and that is why they are now discussing the possibility of not sharing as openly as they have with the United States in the past.
All right, Courtney Kube, thank you.
So this speaks to what we just read in Daniel, the second chapter. Now let's go here. All right, this is Jeffrey Sachs. Trump's NATO exit plan leaves Europe trembling in chaos, crushes Ukraine's hopes.
How can President Trump tolerate this? How can the West tolerate this? I know this has been going on for a year and a half, but how can they tolerate it?
Well, the situation in Israel and Palestine is similar to the situation in Ukraine. In both cases, there are manipulations by the governments, whether it's...
And as you can see, Esau has a lot going on. Because when you read the book of 2nd Esdras 6 and 9 in the GNT, all right, it says Esau represents the end of this age. That's what's getting ready to happen. Okay, they are all over the place. They got too much going on. All right. All right. It's such a heightened time prophetic. The people are losing it. Israel's losing it. Okay. Tripping. Okay. But Esau is continuously, all right, prepared for war, man, as the scripture said he would. Okay. This man just, I mean, everywhere you look, goodness gracious.
Zelensky in Ukraine or Netanyahu, which believe that they have the U.S. Wrapped around their finger and that they can use the U.S. for whatever bullying or maximalist demands they want. When it comes to Ukraine, Trump has...
And that's how the U.S. has been used, you know, along with NATO, the EU, to get the bidding of those small hats done, man. As the scriptures say, the least of the flock. Let's get that real quick. Okay. It's going to be the least of the flock. Okay. That's pretty much at the forefront of drawing Babylon the Great out for war or things happening. Okay. And when you look at the state of Israel, all right, which is an extension of British colonization. Okay. Who has been the number one defender of them? All right. When Israel wants something done, who has been used as the catalyst to aid them? All right. Babylon the Great, along with NATO and the EU. Okay. This is how they've been getting their bidding across. And there's members of the European Union that have admitted to that. We have sort of, aided in a lot of war crimes. All right. Throughout the world. Okay, so we're living in a time where the Lord has put a leader, in the United States office, all right, that is stirring things up. Okay, this is the book of Jeremiah 49 and 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord. He that he have taken against Edom, and this proposes that he have proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate. And the least of the flock speaks to the state of Israel. Okay. And when you look at this beast system, okay, pretty much, although they're mingled in with the British, British established the state of Israel. Okay. They're sort of like the youngest. All right. They were established in 1948. Although it was a little bit before that, okay, they were established last. And when you go to the word least, okay, it's Germans, man. Okay, those Ashkenazi small hats, okay, which come from the region of Germany, Poland, and so forth. The least of the flock. The word least is Tazayar. Tazai Yara. All right. It says little, insignificant, younger, youngest. And look at this number here, 1948. Very interesting that this word will be associated with that. Okay. And all you have to do is type in, when was the state There you go. May 14, 1948. And who established it? Okay, as a matter of fact, I meant to download this video. There's a video online. Maybe I'll do it in another if I can't find it here. But he admits in this video that his family created Israel.
Did the blueprint.
Let's see if he is somewhere. Is it this video? It's a video I had. I'm gonna have to download it, but he admits it. He straight up tells you that it was us who created the state of Israel. Let's see here.
But they had more banking moves in store. The Rothschilds also invented the concept of using government bonds to raise money for the government. As they controlled more and...
Yeah, there's a video. It's somewhere. But this is a video. He admits it here. Okay, that they are the ones, the red shield people. All right, that's what this word means. Red shield. They are the ones who created the state of Israel. Okay? And they're at the forefront of Esau's blessing. They are small hats themselves. You see? So the least of the flock
made the shrewd tactics their father taught them. And it worked. Very soon, the Rothschilds had...
I'm going to try to find it, where he actually says it. It's in one of these videos, but I'll find it in due time. I'll just do another video on it. It's kind of impromptu, but he admits it, and I did a video on it. If y'all have been watching, I did a video on it before where I showed that, okay, they're the ones who created, all right, this, this thing headed right now by Netanyahu, okay, which Trump is, when you look at it, he's kind of turned the side eye to them, all right, although we know America's going to forever be at their aid. Okay, as the scriptures say, the least of the flock. So when you look at these Ukrainians, when you look at, all right, the state of Israel, those are small hats. That's the least of the flock at the end of the day. And as you can see, they're being used to draw, all right, America and all of these various different nations out for war. They're at the forefront of friction. See? And again, let's go back to what he was saying. Let's listen to him again.
How can President Trump tolerate this? How can the West tolerate this? I know this has been going on for a year and a half, but how can they tolerate it?
Well, the situation in Israel and Palestine is similar to the situation in Ukraine. In both cases, there are manipulations by the governments, whether it's Zelensky in Ukraine or Netanyahu, which believe that they have the U.S. Wrapped around their finger, and that they can use the U.S. for whatever bullying or maximalist demands they want. When it comes to Ukraine, Trump has finally drawn the line, and he's...
See that? America, has been used along with NATO and the EU to get the bidding of those small hats done. You see what I'm saying? And now you see here, Trump is saying enough is enough. He's saying it a little bit with Israel, but not really. Okay, because if he goes against, all right, Israel, he's going against, all right, the lobbyists that paid for this damn election to get this AI, all right, infrastructure, digital ID infrastructure set up to bring about that charagma. It's a lot happening, but they're going to need war. They're going to need a big blow to happen on the planet Earth to justify these things that they're getting ready to do. But let's keep listening.
Done it properly. He said to Zelensky, you need to make peace. If you don't make peace, we're not supporting you anymore. And the most recent news is that the United States has suspended all military aid to Ukraine. This is the right approach, given Zelensky's attitude, which is maximalist demands and therefore continued war. Not just maximalist, delusional demands. And when it comes to Israel, the situation is the same. Netanyahu.
And again, if with Trump, withdrawing aid from Ukraine, what does that do? All right. It basically It has a lot of consequences, but let's read a few here. It says increased vulnerability in Ukraine, military and financial setbacks. U.S. aid has been crucial for Ukraine's defense against Russia, which Russia can really just blow that thing to smithereens and destroy their power grids. It says it's a proxy war. It says provides critical military assistance, training, and financial support. Without U.S. aid, Ukraine could struggle to maintain its military capabilities, weakening its abilities to defend itself, particularly in the face of Russian aggression. All right. Economic hardships. The U.S. has also provided significant economic assistance, including humanitarian and support for reforms. A cut in this aid could lead to greater economic instability in Ukraine, affecting its ability to recover and develop. A greater burden on European countries, increased European responsibility. So again, this is going to lead to Europe having to fend for itself. Okay, here it is. America withdraws from NATO, and now they're cutting aid to Ukraine. This is going to lead a big burden on Europe. So who are they going to lean to? All right. Or prophetically, as we're going to show you, they're going to come together and shoot missiles on this place. Okay. You already have what you know as BRICS, which we know BRICS will never defeat the dollar. All right. But basically, it's these countries searching for alternatives to trade outside of the dollar. All right. And certain European countries are dibbling dabbling into that. OK. So without Babylon's military in Europe, and without Babylon sending aid to Ukraine, this is going to lead to Europe having to pretty much fend for itself and have a greater responsibility of defending Ukraine. It says if the U.S. were to withdraw aid, European countries, particularly those in Europe, would likely face more pressure to provide financial and military support to Ukraine. This could strain resources in the European countries, which is already in shambles, many of which are already dealing with their own economic challenges and may not have the same military capabilities of the U.S. A weakened Ukraine would be vulnerable to Russian expansionism. See? Europe, particularly countries on NATO's eastern flank, Poland, Baltics, could feel more a risk, all right, if Russia perceives that the West is not fully committed to Ukraine's defense. This could lead to increased defense spending and tensions within EU and NATO countries, all right, scrambling to fill the gap left by the U.S. And that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to see. Okay, but this is all prophecy. Even if it doesn't happen now, something's going to happen. All right, undermining Western unity. All right. It says U.S. aid to Ukraine has been a key part of transatlantic cooperation in countering Russian aggression. If the U.S. were to withdraw its support, it could weaken the solidarity between the U.S. and Europe, potentially leading to a rift in NATO and transatlantic relations. Divisions within the EU. Within the European Union, countries have differing views on how to handle Ukraine and Russia. Some EU countries, particularly, all right, those near Russia, advocate for stronger support for Ukraine. A U.S. withdrawal from Ukraine could heighten internal divisions within the EU on how to proceed with the crisis. Some members possibly pushing for more intervention and others seeking less confrontational approach. Again, this goes to what we just read. Okay, we just read here in Daniel that is going to be partly strong and partly broken. Okay, they have the strength of the sword, but they don't agree economically. They don't agree strategically. Okay, they don't agree with this. They don't agree with that. But we know prophetically what it's going to lead to. Okay. All right. It says, without U.S. aid, Ukraine's ability to resist Russian advances would be significantly weakened. Russia could potentially seize the territory, all right, either through military force or political manipulation, further destabilizing the region. This could embolden Russia to act more aggressively against other neighboring countries, especially those in Eastern Europe, leading to a broader regional security crisis. All right. And then that's going to put pressure on the rest of NATO. Because what about Turkey? What's Turkey going to do? Okay. Turkey damn sure ain't going to come to the defense of those Palestinians. I mean, those, Slovakia, those Ukrainians. Okay. Eventually, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, let's get it real quick. Let's get Ezekiel 38. And then Turkey is going to eventually choose their Palestinian Muslim brothers as well over Israel. So this is going to lead, eventually what this could lead to is that these European countries are going to be like, you know what, we got to side with Russia. Or we got to come together to do something about this whore, which that's Revelation, the 17th chapter. There's so many ways that it can go, but it all leads to prophecy, man. All right, which, basically, man, that's what we need. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, we need these things to happen. So when we see them, we report it to you, all right, for the purpose of you understanding that, look, Yahweh Shai is near, man. Okay? But before all of this breaks out, that micro CHIP is going to be instituted. All right. But it's going to, before that, it's going to be like blackout, civil war. Okay. Economy crash. All of these things are coming down the pipe. You see? Synonymously, war is going to break out, man. And all of these things in their eyes is going to justify them, all right, establishing that NWO. Okay. Out, basically being the phoenix to rise out of the ashes, so to speak. All right, give me 1 second here. It says this could put pressure on NATO countries, especially those in Eastern Europe, would feel more vulnerable and may demand more support from the alliance to protect their own borders. This could lead to heightened military tensions between NATO and Russia. All right. So, I mean, after America leaves NATO, the Turkey is going to be the greater military. Let's look up greatest military ranking in NATO. Okay. All right. So I have here NATO member states military ranking 2025. And actually, after the United States, Babylon is the UK, its mother. But in times past, Turkey was higher, but then you have France and you have Turkey, which we know Turkey is going to side with Russia. But America leaving NATO, right, could eventually lead to a trickle down effect, more infighting. All right. More, of these countries, siding with Russia. Okay. And the rest is history. These are more of the weaker nations, Greece, Netherlands. But prophetically, we know Turkey is going to side with Russia. Okay, let's Ezekiel 38 real quick. Jumping down. Ezekiel 38:4, speaking to, all right, Gog. It says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. All right. Meaning Russia will be in an untamed spirit in the latter days. He's going to bring Russia back to that Soviet spirit. Meanwhile, NATO, which was set up to be a defense against Russia, is disbanding. Okay. It says, and I will bring thee forth and all thine horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company, even with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya. Okay. And Persia is Iran. All of them with shield and helmet. All right. And we know all of these, all right, countries are lining themselves with Russia. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmor and the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. See? And this speaks to what? All right, Turkey. Okay? Be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thy and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And Russia is a guard to all of these various different nations. All right, you know, training up their military, giving them defense systems. All right, you know, they're aligning themselves with the BRICS ideology. Okay, and pretty much forming their own beast system. All right, and when you read this chapter, this is going to lead, all right, to friction with Israel, which is going to draw America into a war. All right, and these countries, all right, are going to circle the state of Israel and blow it to smithereens. This is going to lead to World War III. Okay. And I have a lesson on this chapter. Maybe I'll reload it. But let's go back here.
Is the same. Netanyahu makes maximalist demands, thinking that the United States will unconditionally back those demands. What are Israel's maximalist demands? To control all of Palestinian territories, to rule over millions of Palestinians in Gaza, in the occupied territories.
And this is the Greater Israel Project. Okay, Trump has been stern about his plans for, taking over the Gaza Strip. See? So again, he boasts in this nationalist ideology, but he's definitely doing the bidding of the elite. Okay, it was a snare.
Of the West Bank and in East Jerusalem, contrary to international law, and as a total, complete blockage of peace. What Netanyahu represents is completely outrageous. It's a violation of every principle, whether moral or legal or pragmatic in terms of peace.
And they've broken international law with the help of America, NATO, and the EU for years. They've been doing it. Okay?
He operates this way because he thinks the U.S. is wrapped around his finger. And so far, that has been the case, actually. While Ukraine did get massive amounts of U.S. aid to pursue aims that made no sense, when it comes to Israel, the Israel lobby has really effectively dominated U.S. foreign policy decision-making of the United States, even leading the United States to wars in the Middle East on behalf of Netanyahu's grandiose, delusional visions. And this is essentially what Donald Trump faces. Now, can he break free of the Israel lobby, some of which are his principal financial supporters in the election campaign, let's face it. But that's what he needs to do. As president of the United States, he needs to say, sorry, American foreign policy is American. It's for American interests. It's not for extremist Israeli positions. It's not for delusions, whether based on the biblical ideas that some of Netanyahu's supporters pursue, or whether it's based on misguided ideas of...
he used the Bible to justify waging war on who he called the Amalekites, which are Edomites. He called those Palestinians Amalekites. It was no uproar from the American people behind him using the Bible, Netanyahu using the Bible to justify, bombing and waging a war and ethnically cleansing that land. Okay, but again, all of these things are happening, all right, or culminating, all right, to World War III, okay?
What will happen if Donald Trump announces tonight or begins the process for the U.S. withdrawal from NATO? What becomes of NATO, Professor Sachs?
Well, the Europeans are recognizing, which they should have recognized a long time ago, that they should defend Europe. They can defend Europe. Their interests and American interests coincide in some ways and differ in other ways. Europe followed the U.S. into this terrible U.S.-Ukraine project, which was a project to expand NATO, and it was a U.S. project to which Europeans were reluctant participants, but never expressed in public their opposition that they expressed to me repeatedly in private. Well, now they've seen that this isn't working. Europe doesn't carry its weight in global politics. I don't want a united Europe to make war with Russia. This is absurd. I want a united Europe that defends itself and that operates with diplomacy with Russia for the collective and indivisible security of Eurasia and Europe. And this is possible. So I don't know what Donald Trump will say about NATO, but arguably NATO could have been ended in 1991 when the Soviet Union ended, because NATO was established in the late 1940s, in order to defend against the potential invasion of a country that doesn't exist anymore. And Europe and Russia have all the grounds for peaceful coexistence. And
well, Russia is back. Okay, he's put them back in that old Soviet spirit. All right. Meanwhile, NATO is being weakened.
Will be coexisting on the map for centuries to come if we don't blow ourselves up. And so Europe, in any event, needs to move to a European security arrangement. There are enough shocks in the world day by day right now that I personally want us to focus our attention on not more destabilization, but on ending these wars, because this is the first practicality that we face and the most urgent task that we face.
What are the effects of tariffs, Professor Sachs?
Well, tariffs essentially isolate the economy putting on the tariffs from the benefits of trade with.
All right, and we'll get into the tariff in another lesson. Let's get the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, and let's go to, and we have lessons on Revelation 17 as well. It's the apostles, bishops, elders, brothers. I myself have done one. This is the book of Revelation 17 and 14. It says, speaking of these 10 horns, all right, which ultimately speaks to, all right, the European Union, okay, they would have one mind. Revelation 17 and 13. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. See? So these European nations have given, you know, their power over to the beast as vassals, all right, for the strengthening of Babylon the Great, all right, which the small hats use Babylon the Great, all right, to go around the earth waging war, all right, along with NATO and the EU. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb. So all of these nations are going to fight against Yahushua upon his return, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. Okay, so again, when Yahushua returns, all of these nations are going to be at war, and then they're going to turn from the war they have with each other and fight against him. That's written in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, and the let's see here, 32. And at that time, when these things shall come to pass, and the signs which I showed thee, have showed thee before, then shall my son be declared, who I saw as a man ascending. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have with one another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as if thou saw them willing to come and overcome him by fighting. So these nations are going to fight against Yahushua, but they're going to be at war with each other as well before he comes. And it says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore, America, sitteth, are people, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So these 10 horns, all right, representing the European Union, the European nations, it started out as 10, now is more, all right, are going to hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked. See that? For God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh be fulfilled. So all of these different European nations agreed to give their kingdom to this beast system. All right. But at the very end, they're going to disband and hate the whore. Okay. And all you have to do is type in European, all right, Europe, all right, America tensions. And Donald Trump is pretty much, all right, helping to fulfill it. Okay, let's go here real quick. Let's go here. This is off of Jason A. Alert. Europe is preparing for war.
In the various meetings in the last few weeks, most recently 2 days ago in London, the answer from European capitals has been as resounding as it is clear. We are in an era of rearmament. And Europe is ready to massively boost its defense spending, both to respond to the short-term urgency to act and to support Ukraine, but also to address the long-term need to take on more responsibility for our own European security. And this is why today I have written a letter to the leaders ahead of Thursday's European Council. This is why we are here together today. I have outlined in this letter to the leaders the Rearm Europe plan. This set of proposals focuses on how to use all the financial levers at our disposal in order to help member states to quickly and significantly increase expenditures in defense capabilities, urgently now, but also over a longer period of time over this decade.
If I'm to be changed, and I'll hear, how can I put it, with what's happening with the support, to change me, it will not be easy, because it is not enough to simply hold elections. You would need to prevent me from participating in the election. And it will be a bit more difficult soon. They'll have to negotiate with me, and I said that I'm exchanging it for NATO membership. And then it means that I fulfilled my mission. There is NATO.
So again, if Trump, like he's withdrew aid, and they could make a deal and change that, but he's withdrew aid from them, and what can it lead to? All right, a greater burden on European countries. All right, economic hardship. Okay, in Europe. All right, which Europe is already through. Division within the EU. Within the European Union, countries having different views on how to handle Ukraine and Russia. All right. I mean, again, different approaches. Again, this is leading to what? Division. All right. This can lead to Russian expansionism. All right. This can lead to pressure on NATO countries that are left in the NATO alliance. All right. And they will feel more vulnerable. OK, and they may demand more support from the alliance to protect their borders. This is going to lead to more. It's going to lead to more and more of a strain. The economies are going to be affected. Okay. Let's see here. Impact on refugee erosion on global influence. The loss of the U.S. leadership. The U.S. withdrawal from Ukraine will signal a retreat from the global stage and could lead to a loss of influence in the U.S. and in Russia. This vacuum could be filled by other powers such as Russia or China, who might seek to increase their own influence in the region, further altering the balance of power in Europe. So a lot of these countries could possibly, all right, as we just read in Revelation, the 17th chapter, they're going to hate the whore. They could possibly be influenced by Russia or China. So this all could lead to a lot. Okay. Impact on global alliances. The U.S. allies might interpret the withdrawal from Ukraine as a sign of U.S. unreliability. I mean, you were Russia, which could undermine confidence in an American leadership and its commitment to supporting democratic nations. European countries in particular might reassess their own defense and foreign policy, seeking closer ties with other global powers and enhancing their military capabilities. You see that? This is what this can all lead to. Okay?
It means I fulfilled my mission.
The Prime Minister says he's open to Australia sending peacekeepers to Ukraine in a bid to ensure a ceasefire. But in the lead up to the election, the coalition has signalled that it wouldn't back that move.
Donald Trump has just frozen military aid to Ukraine indefinitely. Why is that?
Look, I think this is part of a greater negotiating tactic, Andrew. The bottom line is President Zelensky should do two things. Number one, sign that minerals deal. Number two, apologize to President Trump and thank the American people. If those two things happen, Ukraine will be secure. If U.S. interests commercially are aligned with Ukraine, our companies, our workers, that's probably the greatest protection and security that he could possibly get.
After the Oval Office smackdown heard around the world, 47 sending the Ukrainian leader to his room for having a bad attitude.
And if Zelensky doesn't sign the deal, they'll do something and get his ass up out of there and get somebody to sign the mineral deal. Because Ukraine is rich in minerals, and they need control of those minerals.
On a potential peace deal with Russia. And instead of apologizing, Zelensky was running over to his European friends, where he said, quote, an agreement to end the war is still very, very far away, and no one has started all these steps yet. President Trump, not happy with that one.
All right, this is another one that says European. What's happening with Trump, restricting aid. It said European engagement with Russia. Some European countries might push more diplomatic engagement with Russia to de-escalate the situation in Ukraine, but this approach can be viewed as appeasement by others, especially those in Eastern Europe who wary of Russia intentions. So, man, this is all leading to the division that's spoken of in the scriptures.
He should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us. I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. The money is one thing, but the death. And they're losing thousands of soldiers a week. He said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long.
President Trump also teasing that he'll have more to say on the minerals deal with Ukraine during his joint address to Congress, which you can catch special coverage starting tomorrow at 9 Eastern.
All right. Another thing this can do is redefine alliances. European countries might seek to redefine their alliances and security arrangements, possibly looking for alternative partnerships outside of NATO or strengthening the EU's internal defense capabilities. This could lead to a more fragmented and less unified approach to international security. There you go.
Right here on Fox News Channel. Meanwhile, the Democrats and the media are screaming, Russia, Russia, Russia.
The White House has become an arm of the Kremlin.
The Kremlin is delighted.
The only winner in that exchange is Putin.
He's very much in Putin's camp.
As far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States.
And Secretary Rubio is pointing out how President Trump would be getting a Nobel Peace Prize over his efforts to end the war if only there was a D next to his name.
Shouldn't we all be happy?
So this could all lead to Russia, all right, getting more allies, all right, and prophecy being fulfilled to where all of these nations are going to come together and wage war, all right, on Israel, and Babylon's going to come in there and get destroyed. This is where we at.
Happy that we have a president who's trying to stop wars and prevent them instead of start them. And I just don't get it. I really don't, other than the fact that it's Donald J. Trump. If this was a Democrat that was doing this, everyone would be saying, well, he's on his way to the Nobel Peace Prize. This is absurd.
No, I will say this. The other thing that's funny, Zelensky left the United States, went over to Europe, where immediately the UK's Prime Minister Starmer said that they will put boots on the ground, planes in the air. The French president said that they're willing to up their percentage of GDP of defense spending.
And we know it's all theater, but the elites, all right, are controlling all of this, and there will be a decision. There will be war. The Esau's still at the end. He's not in control.
To 3.5%. It's the effect of Donald Trump is having a ripple effect across the pond as well. But the bottom line is that you are talking about promises that he made. Donald Trump campaigned on bringing peace back to an unstable world. For 4 years, there wasn't an invasion or incursion across the world, not just in Ukraine and in Russia, but throughout the world. And under Joe Biden, the world fell apart. So Donald Trump wants to bring peace. He didn't ask to come back in and deal with the situation in Gaza or the situation in Ukraine. In fact, when he left office, he had utter peace throughout the world. The world was calmer and safer under his leadership. But look, I think you got to look at the context of that meeting. Number one,
drunk. They're all drunk, man. All of them got to go. They're all through. Esau's at the end, man.
General Keith Kellogg, the president's envoy to Ukraine, had met with Zelensky the week before and said, don't come to the U.S. to just have a show. Sign the deal, and then we'll make things happen. Zelensky went against that advice. Came over, met with a bunch of Democratic senators, Chris Murphy of Connecticut, several others, including the rumors are at least Susan Rice from the Biden administration and potentially Victoria Nuland. I don't know if they set that guy up or not, but the idea of going into a Oval Office meeting and looking smug and arrogant as if he was giving us something definitely did not look like the thing. I was there, Andrew. I posted some stuff on social media. The White House was ready for a quick press spray, a meeting, a lunch with the signing, and then a press.
So that's that. Again, this is all prophecy, man, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, but Europe is divided. Okay, the revival of Rome, as we read in Daniel the 2nd chapter, is partly strong, is partly weak. Okay, you have the iron and the miry clay. All right, and we're here. Okay, again, Putin warns Western leaders. All right, pushing for World War III. The world may end, but Russia will not fall. So. Again, let's get the book of Joel. All right, okay, again, remember, the Lord put all of these things into these heathens' minds to do these things on earth, okay, to fulfill his word, to fulfill his prophecies, man. Okay? Joel chapter 3. And 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And a lot of these weaker nations, once this all happens, and a lot of them are doing it now, they're siding with Russia. Okay? Countries that would have never, scoffed at America or scoffing at America. Assemble yourselves and come together, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh-Shaphat. There will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So all of these heathen are getting ready to go to war. A bloodbath is getting ready to happen. Okay, and what's happening now, okay, Jeremiah 51:44, and I will punish Baal and Babylon. This place is going to be punished, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he swallowed up. Okay, his rape, robbery, and murder is all going to be addressed, man. And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. The wall of Babylon shall fall. You see that? And everything pretty much runs through this whore. Once this is destroyed, okay, pretty much that's going to mess up the whole world's economy. Why you think in Revelation, the 18th chapter, the nations are going to be screaming and crying, all right, when this whore is destroyed, man. But now we're witnessing, Babylon the Great isolate herself, okay? We're witnessing the state of Israel just moving in a very uncouth manner, okay? All of this is biblical prophecy. We're seeing Europe divided. All right, we're seeing Esau, Edom over here, under America, having to look more stout than his fellows via Donald Trump. Okay? And America historically has always, been at the forefront of this thing. Well, now his allies is looking at him like this nigga doing too much. Okay, they're going to be divided going forward, and the moves that are being made are beautiful. Even if Zelensky signs the mineral deal, okay, eventually something's going to happen that's going to lead to prophecy being fulfilled, man. Okay, and we're here for it, man. So, boy, these devils just a bunch of strange children, man. So that's it, man. I just wanted to touch on that. I don't want to go any further. Giving all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahshai Bashim Rachak Radash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.